Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Devin Adams. I'm a Fortinet instructor here in Tempe, Arizona for Dynamic Worldwide, and this is a series I've been recording on our SD-WAN demo, but here we're focusing mainly on our failovers. So essentially we're gonna have our headquarters here, right? And then we have services that are needed to the data center over here, all right? And in our last video, we set up the SD-WAN going from our inside out to the internet, okay? But in this video, our goal is going to be simple. We're going to have two of simple. We're going to have two of them here. And that is one, we need to have traffic passing in between these two site-to-site connections. So in other words, people at headquarters needs to access resources from the data center, and the data center needs resources from headquarters. So we're going to use this point-to-point site that we have through our MPLS provider. All right. Our second goal after that is going to be if we have lost internet connectivity on our DC side, right, in our data center, let's go ahead and use our MPLS connection to get back out to the internet. Okay, so that's going to act as like an MPLS failover for just internet connectivity. Now, coming up, the whole point of this eventually is going to be for us to have multiple VPN tunnels to also get back to the data center if that MPLS connection goes down. And then also we're going to get the branch office involved with its VPN connections. And when everything's up and running and good to go, then we'll go ahead and play with the granularity of the rules. So, but like I said before, guys, I've done the SD-WAN stuff in labs just fine, but I really have not played around with any of the VPN connections added to the SD-WAN and also the MPLS. So this is my way of doing it for my peeps who've taken my class. So you know what? I'm going to shut up. Let's go ahead and just dive right into it. Now, just as a warning, I don't do these videos ahead of time. It's impromptu. All right. So with that being said, I encourage you guys to take a moment in your lab environments before you start, ripping things apart to get it to work. Just take 2 seconds and do a quick backup configuration. So this way, at least you can roll back, right? If you're screwing stuff up, including myself. So anyways, that's your little public service announcement there. Don't forget to use your configuration files. So, all right, well, you know what? Right away, the only thing that I'm going to focus on is getting my traffic to pass between the headquarters and the DC. The point-to-point connection is there, but what do we need to configure on both of the FortiGates, especially if we're adding the MPLS to our SD-WAN to get them to talk? So let's focus on that first, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to add the MPLS to our SD-WAN. So let's do it. Are you guys ready? We're going to go to network. We're going to go to SD-WAN. Okay. Here's all of our interfaces. And now we are going to add our MPLS network. So, and then we are going to define the gateway, and that's going to be 172.168. No, it's not. What am I doing? 16.1.2, and that's the other side of our MPLS connection down there in our data center, okay? And then we're going to hit apply. All right. We're going to hit apply. Okay. And then I am also going to go to our performance SLAs, because eventually we can actually use that MPLS network as a way to even act as a backup internet connection if all 4 of our links go down at headquarters. But simply because of this SD-WAN rule here is saying, you know what, guys, anything going anywhere distributed across all the interfaces, that's what we call our implicit load balancing algorithm that's in our SD-WAN rules, if it ever appears. If it ever appears, come on, buddy, you can do it. Anyways, it's an any interface, and I want to keep, at least right now, my traffic from trying to use the SD-WAN as one of its options. So I have no idea what that's spinning, but there we go. I want to exclude the SD-WAN, and how will I do that? All right. And the reason why exclude the SD-WAN, I'm getting all over the place. I want to exclude the MPLS connection because right now our whole point of the MPLS connection is not to have it being used for internet access. That's all I'm trying to say here. So what we can do here is that we can edit this bad boy, all right? And I can add that MPLS connection to ping out to Google, and it simply will not work, okay? Because it does not know what to do with that traffic when it hits the other FortiGates, but that's fine, all right, because it should disqualify it, see? And that's okay, that's what I want it to do. And just to make sure that my traffic doesn't try to pass out port 5, my WAN traffic, I am going to go to my SD-WAN rules while I'm doing this, all right? And like I said, you shouldn't have to do this if you have everything set up right, but meaning like, you know, we should have a redundant connection going out through our data center site, but we just don't. So I'm just going to call this internet access. And anything that's coming from our local subnet going out to the internet, all right, simply use the best link from Google's DNS. Oh. And use all 4 of those ports. And this way it's going to keep it from trying to use that port 5 to go out. So it's as easy as that, okay? And these rules are top down, all right? So that should keep that port 5 from being used for internet access. That's kind of long-winded, but just bear with me, guys, okay? The next thing we got to do is make some address objects, all right? So let's go to policy and objects. And let's go to addresses, and I'm going to make one for the DC. So I'm going to say this is DC subnet. Give that nice green color. All right. And I'm going to say 10.10.2.0/24. And yes, you can use it for static routes. Okay. And now what I can do is that I can come to our network, and we can go to our static routes. And right now we just have a quad 0 out the WAN 1. And you see how the distance is 1 here? We still need to tell the FortiGate how to get to the 10.10.2 network, all right? And on top of that, because of reverse path forwarding check, we also got to tell that there's routes that is beyond that MPLS point-to-point connection. So here we go. Are you guys ready? So we're going to say, hey, if you're ever trying to get out of, check this out, isn't this so cool? Named address. Yeah, isn't that awesome? If you're trying to get out to this subnet, I want you to leave 172.16.1.2. I want you to hand it off to that IP address out our MPLS network. It even did a lookup to get the answer there. All right. So that should satisfy reverse path forwarding check. Okay. Now, just as best practices, at least I would want this in my environment, I'm also going to create a monitor just for that MPLS network. All right, so I'm going to just say QoS MPLS, and the server is going to be the other side of the MPLS connection. Because remember, guys, an MPLS connection is traffic being forwarded within a service provider's own network. There is a chance that that link can get degraded, and this is going to come into play later on in the later videos when we say, hey, if that MPLS connection somehow suffers performance because of some kind of congestion, or maybe they're having problems with routing, go ahead and use something else like a VPN tunnel. All right, so but we're just going to point to the other side of that MPLS connection for now. All right, the participants is just going to be our MPLS, and we're not going to have any targets at the moment, but once we hit OK, all right, that should at least give us a quality control performance stamp that we can actually measure out on time too, using things like the FortiView and stuff like that. So very interesting. All right, so okay, now what? Well, our goal was to get it to pass traffic, right? So let's go over to our firewall rules. So we'll go to policy and objects, and we'll go to IP4 policy. Okay. And we're going to say, hey, you know what? If you are trying to get to the MPLS network, so we're going to say new, and we're going to say to DC using MPLS, okay? Our incoming interface is going to be our LAN. Our outgoing interface is going to be, you see how we cannot select port 5, all right? So we have to say SD-WAN. What's the source? It's going to be our LAN traffic. Our destination specifically is going to be our DC subnets, all right? And for right now, we'll just say all. But most importantly, guys, do we need NATs turned on? Of course we don't. We don't need NAT through an MPLS connection, okay? So we're going to hit OK. All right. Now, this would never hit unless we drag it above our less specific firewall rule. So don't forget, guys, it's always top down. All right. But what's also neat, though, is that if we want traffic coming from the data center to our network, all we have to do here is clone the reverse. And we can do that because NAT is turned off. All right. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say from DC MPLS. Okay. And see how the source is going to be our network. Our destination is going to be our LAN traffic. Always all. And we don't need NAT turned on. And we hit OK. And then we can right click and enable it. Nice. Okay. And that should be it on our side. Okay. On our side. Let's go now to the data center. So here is the data center's FortiGate. And now let's do everything that we just did on this side. I know this video is going to end up long. I can already feel it. So, but here we go. Let's just do everything like we did before. So let's go to our network. Let's go to our SD-WAN. And let's add in our MPLS perp. So here we go. Oh, MPLS. Guys, I was messing with this beforehand. I forgot to take this one out, but there you guys go. Actually, I'll just pretend like that wasn't there. Here we go. So we'll say MPLS. We're going to hand it off to the headquarters, which is the other side of the MPLS network. So 172.16.1 dot, it'd be nice if I used periods instead of commas. 16.1.1. Okay. And we hit apply. Nice. And then after that, we can go to our performance SLAs. And here we only have our going out, right? But once again, we don't want our MPLS traffic, for this demo at least, to be hitting that implicit rule. So we'll also add this interface here, and then that way it won't be considered as a qualification because it should never come up. So until we write the rule. And we will do that actually at the later part of the video because we want it to fail over. But right now we want to keep it out. So we're going to make sure it doesn't try to use that route by creating a rule that says, hey, you know what? We'll just call this internet access. If you're coming in from the, it'd be nice if I could spell, from our DC subnet, all right, going out to, let's see here, anywhere, internet's a big place, okay? Use the best quality of link between whom? These two guys. Measuring for our QoS internet. And then it will not use that MPLS network until we get it passing through the FortiGates. All right. And we can see that here by just going to performance SLAs. It'll be considered down. It won't be considered. All right. As easy as that. Now we got to go ahead and make our static routes because we need to tell this FortiGate that the 10.10.3 network specifically lives out of the MPLS network. So we'll say create new. And we'll say, hey, if you're trying to go to where? Headquarters, right? So headquarters, subnet. Change it green because it's a trusted subnet. And that is 10.10.1.0.2.4. use it in static routes, say okay. I love that you can name this, use these names for your routing. There we go. And pass it off to the other side of the MPLS network, which is 172.16.1.1. All right, and we hit OK. So now empty values are not allowed. I didn't know I had an empty value. My bad. 172.16.1.1. All right. There we go. And that should at least satisfy reverse path forwarding check, okay? So then we're going to have our firewall rules. So let's go to our policy and objects. Let's go to IP4 policy. And we are going to create one that says to HQ MPLS. Our incoming is going to be our port 4. Our outgoing is going to be our SD-WAN. All right. Our source is we are going to be coming from the data center going to headquarters. All right. Services all for right now. And once again, we do not need NAT turned on. All right. We'll hit OK. Easy peasy. There we go. Now remember the order, bloop, because this is more specific. It needs to go above that. Okay. So, all right. Awesomeness. So now let's go ahead and clone it. And we can do this because the NAT's turned off. And we're just simply going to say now from HQ. So from HQ underscore MPLS. All right. Looks pretty good. NAT's turned off. Come down here, enable the policy. Bloop. There we go. Does not work without the sound effect. Okay. And technically speaking, that should be all that we need. So if we come up here to our network, though, I did forget to make a quality check for our MPLS network. So let's go here and we'll call this QoS MPLS, because we'll use this in a later video, but it makes sense setting it up here. So 172.1.16.1.1. All right, participants is only going to be our MPLS. We'll hit OK. And this way we can keep a track on the health of that MPLS connection. Make sure that we're paying as much as we're paying for that quality link. So now here's the thing, guys. This is what took me just a little bit to try to figure out. So everything looks good here until I went to go test it. Okay, so for example here, everything should be working. All right, so if I come here, oops, come on, buddy, and I pull up my terminal, all right, I should be able to ping the HQ. So I'm going to say ping 10.10.1.254, and nothing happens. And I'm all thinking to myself, well, I did everything right. What's going on here? Okay. And same thing on the other side. And I did like trace routes and I did policy lookup. Everything looked good. Everything looked good. And then I realized because we're using the SD-WAN, this is an abstracted virtual interface. So we need to tell this thing to specifically use the MPLS interface if it's going to go down the MPLS network for MPLS traffic. So that was my little missing part of the puzzle here. So once again, everything up to this point feels like it's all that we need. And if you really want to get technical about this, not FortiView there, buddy. The reason why is because if we go to our static routes, even though there's a static route here for our DC subnet, all right, guys, there is still a 1 on the SD-WAN. So in other words, it's still going to try to push that out our our default gateway unless we tell it to specifically use port 5. So yes, that is the missing piece of the pie here that I was missing beforehand when I was trying this out earlier by myself. So let's fix it. Are you guys ready? You need to make that additional rule. So let's come up here and we'll just call this MPLS to DC or something like that. All right. So if you are coming from our LAN subnets and you're going, and you're going specifically to the DC subnets, I need you to use always port 5. And by the way, you have to pick a measured SLA even if you're not using SLAs. Okay. And that's also why it was important to make that one quality check, and we hit OK. Now, these rules, my friends, are also top down. So guess what else we got to do? Bloop, drag it up. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other on the other side too. All right, guys. So let's get back to our configuration here. Let's go back to our SD-WAN rules and let's tell the SD-WAN, all right, and we'll just say to HQ MPLS. So if you are specifically coming from our DC going out to HQ, I want you to always use the MPLS network, measuring the MPLS check. All right. And then because it's top down, we drag and we drop. All right. And now the rule is going to be written in there. And now it should actually hit. So in theory, let's go ahead and test it. Are you guys ready? And there it is. We're now talking to the MPLS network. We're going through the MPLS connection, right, to get to the DC. Okay, so guys, I know that was a lot, but that's how you can add MPLS into your SD-WAN and still use it to pass traffic to the DC and back and forth. So in fact, here's our website. All right. We're in headquarters right now, and if we go to 1010 to 100, there's our internal website that's only hosted at the DC, and it's going through the MPLS point-to-point connection to get there. Okay, and also on this side too, if we go ahead and we pull up the terminal again, my resolution, man, let me tell you, we should be able to ping 10.10.1.254, which is the inside interface of the FortiGate. So there you guys go. All right, so I know that was a little bit long, but that's essentially how we can get our MPLS traffic to start pointing towards each other. All right, and start passing traffic through each other. Now, remember though, we have 4 circuits at headquarters and only 1 circuit at the DC. Shouldn't we be able to take advantage of MPLS if we want to utilize one of these connections, especially if this goes down or degrades? And that's exactly what we're going to do before we wrap up this video. So we're going to make sure we can pass traffic through the MPLS network to get out to the internet if this ever goes down. Okay. Now also guys, just as a reminder, there's way more cool stuff that you can do with the SD-WAN, but I'm going to wait for all that neatness once we get our VPN tunnels up and running. Okay, and that should be the next video, and it'll probably happen either later tonight or tomorrow, but here we go. Are you guys ready? So in our headquarters ourselves, let's go ahead and make sure we can make that happen. All right, for starters here, you see how we have a all any, okay, and then all of our interfaces. This was just to protect it while we were doing our demo. All right, so in other words, this is just to make sure that I was only using these 4 ports for internet and not using MPLS to go out. And you know what? I'm going to keep it like that because we're not using MPLS in the other direction to get out to the internet. We could, but we're just not going to do it because we have so many circuits. Now on this side, we actually have to say that. All right, so we're going to say, hey, you know what? If you're going out to the internet, trying to go all, you can use MPLS and the WAN 1. Okay, so but if you guys remember, if you go to our performance SLAs, we still have this port down, so it's not being considered. So let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, and the way that we do that is, are you guys ready? We have to go to our headquarters. we have to go to our firewall policies. All right, so let's go to policy and objects, IP4. And this is going to feel a little bit weird, but bear with me, okay? Let's go ahead and create a new, and we're going to call this DC MPLS Internet Failover or something like that. That looks way too crappy, but anyways. Here we go. Our incoming interface is going to be SD-WAN. Our outgoing interface is going to be SD-WAN. Okay, but it's going to say, hey, anything that's coming from the DC subnet. Are you guys ready for this? And also the MPLS network. All right. Remember how we had the point-to-point? Well, that's what's being used as the source IP address to ping out for that health check. So here we go. And you know what? I'm going to make MPLS something funky, cool, like blue. All right. Why? Just because I can. And we're going to say 172.16.0.1.0/30. All right. Going out to all services, and the internet's a big place. And specifically, guys, NAT has to be turned on. So we hit OK. All right. See that? And now traffic should be able to get out to the internet through the DC. So let's go ahead and refresh. And look at that. Now MPLS is being considered as a possible internet connection where it wasn't before. Pretty darn cool, guys, huh? We just had to write the firewall rule on the headquarters, okay? The next thing we need to do is just double check our internet policies, our interfaces here, not our interfaces. Getting a little too loopy, guys. Here we go. Our IP4 policies to make sure that we have internet access, always perfect. So we actually don't have to write anything different here, okay? So, yeah, let me just double check the rules on our DC to make sure that it's not going to do anything funky with our SD-WAN rules. All right, so let's go to our network. Let's go to MPLS and our SD-WAN rules, okay? And remember, we left this in there. So technically, we should be fine there also. So you guys ready? Let's test this out. So let's pull up a terminal. All right, this is at the DC, and I'm going to ping something out on the internet. All right, there it is. It's going. And then let's say that Bob outside backed up his Pinto into the DMARC and killed our connection out to the internet. All right, so if we come over here and we do our performance check, now port 1 is not going to be considered to pass traffic, okay? So even if that connection is down and we do something like going to google.com, are we still getting to Google? We are. So as you can see, guys, the DC, even though it's down, and by the way, we lost a whole whopping, oh, that was the wrong ping packet. We lost a whole whopping 5 packets to make sure that the secondary kicked in. All right, check that out, guys. Isn't that awesome? All right, so it's now actually going through our MPLS connection because our WAN connection went down on the DC. Okay, and how much convergence is it going to take to get that back up? So let's say we slap Bob, and then we plug back in the DMARC. I don't know, and we plug it back in port 1. Yeah, everything should just start kicking up and working like nothing happened. So if I hit the F5 and the refresh, it's now going to start using its own WAN interface again now that it's up and running. So, but it has to wait a little bit for the quality to come back up. Guys, that's pretty darn cool. In my humble opinion, we should really have our services to our end users as secure as possible, but also as easy access wise. So in other words, this should just be like electricity, right? They should just sit down and be able to use their tools for work. And I think the SD-WAN is a great way to do that. Now, my next challenge is going to be to throw in the VPN tunnels. Okay, and once we throw in the VPN tunnels, even if that MPLS connection goes down, or even better, if it deteriorates to a point where the service level agreement saying that you're too crappy of a connection to participate, it will fail over and use the IPsec tunnels instead to get to the DC. We can also force all the internet traffic back to headquarters before going out to the internet from our branch offices. And then after we get those working, I'll do a last video of showing you how we can point certain traffic down each pipe using those rules and using those LSAs. So guys, like I said, I do not rehearse these. It's been a half an hour. I apologize. I think videos should never be longer than like 5 minutes. All right. But that was my biggest problem with, no offense, Fortinet's videos. They're way too simple. We're going to show you how to do this in 3 minutes with the magic of the internet. No, that was the hard nitty gritty. So, all right, guys, we're a step closer. Okay, 2 more videos coming up. So the next video, once I figure out how it all works, we're going to add multiple VPN tunnels back to the data center, back to the headquarters. All right. We're also going to do a VPN failover with the MPLS network. So if the MPLS network becomes too trashed or goes down, it'll use the IPsec tunnels and then come back up once it's restored. And then our last video after that is going to be writing complexity rules based off of quality. So, all right, guys. Like I said, the hard part's coming up. I haven't been able to get it to work, but thank you for joining me on this journey of trying to get it to work. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And if I never come back, if I never record that last video, I never figured it out. So I'm just kidding. I won't be able to drop it until I do. So, all right, guys, until next time.